There's a crisis unfolding on America's streets, one we rarely see, yet it grows more urgent every day. It's a crisis that hides in plain sight, often overlooked by the rush of city life and the noise of daily headlines. We talk about the opioid epidemic and the devastation of fentanyl. The headlines filled with stories of addiction and loss, but we overlook a vulnerable group: our elders. Seniors are increasingly homeless, their numbers rising quietly as the world looks away. Caught in a system that can't protect them, many older Americans find themselves with nowhere to turn. Rising housing costs, inadequate social security, and mounting medical bills can push anyone from stability to desperation. For seniors, these pressures are relentless, often arriving all at once. Once on the streets, seniors face dangers that multiply with age and frailty, none more immediate than fentanyl. Fentanyl contaminates other drugs, making every encounter a deadly risk, offering a false escape from pain, but it's a poison that doesn't discriminate. It claims lives indiscriminately, regardless of age or circumstance. The intersection of senior homelessness and the fentanyl crisis is a national tragedy, one that is growing, not shrinking. How did we get here, to a place where the generation that built our communities is left so exposed and unprotected, where our grandparents' generation is left so exposed? Many of these seniors once had homes, jobs, and families. Many are too proud or too exhausted to seek help, worn down by years of struggle and disappointment. Becoming isolated and even more vulnerable, they slip through the cracks of a system meant to protect them. They're easy targets for both the drug and those who prey on the desperate, facing threats to their safety every day. This story is a journey into their world. A world most of us never see, but one that could touch any family. It's a chance to give voice to those silenced by circumstance, to hear their stories and understand their pain. We'll travel from Los Angeles to Chicago, tracing the path of this crisis across America's cities, hearing their stories and examining the facts behind fentanyl's deadly spread. But most importantly, we'll listen to the people behind the statistics. We'll try to understand the human cost, the heartbreak, the resilience, and the hope that still survives. This isn't just about statistics or policy. These are real lives, real struggles, and real consequences. It's about people and dignity, about the right to age with respect and security. It's about remembering those we've chosen to forget and refusing to let them disappear into the shadows. And it's about asking what we can do to change their reality, how we can come together as a society to offer hope. These are not just numbers, they are our elders, our neighbors, and our responsibility. Their struggle is a call to action, a reminder that compassion must guide our choices. The time to see them is now. Their stories matter, and together, we can make a difference. My journey began on the streets, not in a newsroom. I wanted to see firsthand the realities that so many Americans face but so few talk about. The pavement beneath my feet became my guide, leading me through neighborhoods most people pass by without a second glance. In Seattle, I met Robert, 70, who lost his home after his wife died and bills mounted. He never imagined ending up here, surrounded by strangers and uncertainty. His story is one of heartbreak, but also of resilience. He still hopes for a better tomorrow, even as each day brings new challenges. He spoke of fear at night and the ever-present threat of fentanyl. The darkness brings not just cold, but a sense of vulnerability that never truly fades. In Phoenix, Maria, 68, sought shade at bus stops, 2 years homeless after a landlord dispute. She whispered about the zombie drug everywhere, her voice trembling with worry. The relentless heat is only matched by the constant anxiety of what the next day might bring. She tries to avoid crowds, but loneliness is its own danger. The isolation weighs heavily, making every day a struggle not just for survival, but for connection. In Denver, I saw Frank, a veteran with chronic pain, self-medicating with street drugs now laced with fentanyl. Shelters were full and unprepared for his needs. He served his country but now finds himself fighting a different kind of battle, one for dignity and relief. Each city told the same story: economic shock, then the grinding reality of street life, now worsened by fentanyl. The faces change, but the hardships remain hauntingly familiar. The drug turns poverty into a crisis of life and death. Every overdose is a reminder of how fragile hope can be. This isn't a local problem, it's a systemic wound spreading nationwide. From coast to coast, the symptoms are the same, and the pain is shared by communities everywhere. Seniors are falling through the cracks everywhere. The safety nets meant to protect them are fraying, leaving many with nowhere to turn. The geography changes, but the suffering remains. Whether in bustling cities or quiet towns, the struggle is universal. The threat of fentanyl is the new constant. It lurks in every alley, every shelter, every shadowed corner of the city. These stories are not isolated. They are the new American reality. Each face tells a story of loss, but also of endurance and the will to survive. The crisis is everywhere, and it's growing. Every day more people join the ranks of the forgotten, their voices echoing in the silence. We can't ignore it any longer. The time to act is now, before even more lives are lost to the streets and to despair. In the heart of Los Angeles' Skid Row, I met Eleanor, 72, a former teacher whose pension simply couldn't keep up with the relentless rise in rent. Once she inspired young minds in classrooms, but now she's forced to navigate the harsh realities of life on the streets. Her dignity tested every day. Her closest friend died after unknowingly taking a counterfeit pill laced with fentanyl. She never woke up, leaving Eleanor with a deep sense of loss and fear that lingers every night. Now Eleanor trusts no one and sleeps with one eye open, haunted by memories and the constant threat that tomorrow could bring more tragedy. In Philadelphia, David, 65, once a proud construction worker, became addicted to prescription opioids after a devastating injury left him in chronic pain. When his doctor cut him off, David was left with nowhere to turn. Desperate, he turned to street drugs, fully aware of the deadly risk of fentanyl, but unable to bear the agony of withdrawal and pain. "It's Russian roulette," he said quietly, "but the pain is a sure thing. Every day is a gamble, but I don't have a choice." Not all are addicts. In San Francisco, John and Brenda, both in their late 60s, live in a cramped single-room hotel, terrified of the chaos and frequent overdoses just outside their door. Brenda was mugged for her groceries. Addiction-fueled desperation makes everyone a target, and even the most vulnerable are not spared. They feel like prisoners, trapped behind locked doors, always just one misfortune away from the street. These stories reveal more than hardship. They show a population fighting for safety, community, and hope, clinging to each other for support in a world that often looks away. Seniors face a two-front war, daily survival against poverty and homelessness, and the ever-present threat of a deadly opioid crisis that claims lives without warning. Their stories are a plea for help, a cry from the shadows. They are not statistics or faceless numbers. They are Eleanor, David, John, and Brenda, real people with histories, families, and dreams. They are our elders, and they need our attention. Their struggle is urgent. We must listen. We must act before more stories are lost to silence. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid, 50 times more potent than heroin. Just 2 milligrams can be lethal. It's cheap, easy to smuggle, and now contaminates nearly every street drug, often without the user's knowledge. Fentanyl is now the leading cause of overdose deaths in the U.S. For homeless seniors, avoiding it is nearly impossible. The drug supply is poisoned. Older bodies are more fragile, making even small doses deadly. Many have health conditions that worsen the risk. Overdoses can be mistaken for age-related illness, delaying help. Fentanyl has turned self-medication into a deadly gamble for seniors. Life on the streets accelerates decline for older adults. Chronic pain, untreated illnesses, and exposure to the elements make every day a struggle. Managing diabetes or arthritis without shelter or medicine is nearly impossible. The emotional toll is just as severe: loss of home, identity, and dignity. Many were once teachers, parents, neighbors, now invisible or seen as a nuisance. Depression and anxiety are common, often untreated. Isolation magnifies every hardship. Fentanyl preys on this vulnerability, offering false relief from pain or despair. Dealers exploit their desperation with counterfeit pills. The cycle is vicious. Pain leads to self-medication, which leads to more health crises. Seniors are trapped in a web of pain, despair, and danger. They are not just homeless, they are fighting to survive. Our safety net wasn't built for this crisis. Shelters often lack accessible beds and geriatric care, making them unwelcoming for seniors. Many choose the streets over chaotic, unsafe shelters. Consistent medical care is nearly impossible. Emergency rooms become their only option. Addiction treatment centers rarely address the unique needs of older adults. Seniors are more vulnerable to violence and theft, especially with fentanyl in the mix. Some are coerced into holding or selling drugs. Outreach workers do heroic work, but resources are stretched thin. We need shelters and healthcare tailored to seniors. Mobile medical units and age-specific addiction programs are essential. Without systemic change, we're only managing tragedy. The system must adapt, or more will fall through the cracks. Senior homelessness is the result of decades-long trends. Economic security has eroded, pensions are rare, costs are up, and a single crisis can push seniors over the edge. Families are more dispersed, leaving elders isolated and unsupported. The opioid crisis began with overprescription. When policies tightened, some turned to the streets for relief. Fentanyl's arrival turned a health crisis into a public emergency. These are not just individual failures, they are systemic. Homelessness is the tragic outcome of economic, social, and healthcare breakdowns. We must see the bigger picture to find real solutions. Amid the crisis, there are glimmers of hope. Outreach workers build trust, offer naloxone, and save lives. Their work restores human connection, reminding seniors they matter. Innovative programs are emerging: medical respite care, housing first models, and smaller community-focused shelters. These programs tailor solutions to seniors' needs. Small acts of kindness matter: a conversation, a smile, a moment of respect. I saw a young woman sit with an elderly man, changing his day with simple compassion. We all have the power to see those we're conditioned to ignore. These acts are antidotes to despair. Change won't come from one policy, but from a collective shift in perspective. It starts with recognizing our shared humanity. The problem is immense, but hope is real. Change is possible, one act of kindness at a time. We've seen the faces and heard the stories of seniors left behind. Now we have a choice: look away or act. This is a moral test. How we treat our most vulnerable defines us. Awareness is the first step. Share these stories. Challenge stereotypes. The person on the street is not a statistic. They have a story and a right to dignity. Support organizations on the front lines. Volunteer, donate, advocate. Even small contributions can save lives. Ask local helpers what they need. Your support matters. Make a personal commitment to compassion. Next time you see a homeless elder, acknowledge them. We can't solve everything, but we can refuse indifference. We owe this generation more than neglect. Let's choose to remember, to care, and to act. Their final chapter should not be written in isolation and pain.